The Talk Night Podcast.
Okay, guys, what's up?
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your hosts, SMG Clicks and Omar, bringing you a new Talk Night video. Today, we'll be talking about the big Apple transition from Intel to to Apple Silicon. First of all, I want to mention a couple of stuff. Sorry for late uploads. I was busy, but we try our best. So,
Yeah,
well, what's your? Let's just say some general information here.
so it's been quite prominent in the news. Apple is, of course, has made a decision or has announced that they plan to move to proprietary or in-house silicon, just like their phones. So they're gonna use the A series chip.
Mm-hmm.
Their next chip is expected to be the A14. There are expected to be versions for their mobile phone, the iPhone, a version for the iPad, and a version for the MacBook. So that is obviously the MacBook version is expected to have a higher TDP or higher energy consumption because the laptop is able to cool a lot better than a phone, for example. And generally speaking, this is a huge change because uh, the chip they're using, it's an ARM chip, which is very different than what Intel has been supplying them.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Yeah.
actually that comes with a change in the OS. Is that right?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, this is a huge change. It's gonna change the OS, but Apple expected that, so they brought in three programs to support their new change. That they wanna make the MacBook users feel like nothing changed. So they brought these programs: Universal 2, Rosetta 2, and Virtualization. We're gonna get in those later, but we just want to say, why would they do this? Why would they transition? I have a couple of theories here. First of all, the ARM chips, they're very power efficient. MacBooks are made for, not for gaming per se, they were made for more of a productivity, Microsoft Word. So they don't require that high. And especially when they have like an Intel Core i7 in their MacBook, passively cooling problem. Now, there was so much heat in that MacBook, it would throttle really quickly. Now, using such a small and power efficient chip like ARM in their MacBooks will help them solve the heat problem, and they won't have to pay anyone to do it. So they will only have to pay labor. They won't have to pay Intel to do it. They will also, and this all comes in with more battery life. Um, so what do you think? What do you think is the reason they changed?
Okay, so uh, the reason you've mentioned are totally correct, and I think it's also uh, it's a move to unify the iPad's OS, the iPhone OS, and the MacBook OS. So initially there was like the difference between the they were all one ecosystem, but they were kind of significant to such a degree where you couldn't have the cross compatibility with lots of applications and programs. And going to a future where Apple is possibly looking into making an iPad a true laptop replacement,
Mm-hmm.
having developers actually making these programs for ARM-based MacBooks would make them easily compatible with ARM-based iPads, even if they lack the power now. Perhaps 5 years into the future, these programs, whether they be um, intensive like productivity, maybe even some games or so on, we're gonna see that once the power that they're able to pack into an iPad catches up to the power they're able to pack into the MacBooks, um,
Mm-hmm.
like once they catch up, we're gonna see a lot of applications being shared between the two, and that's part of Apple's master plan to get you to buy their kind of more focused product because I think for Apple. it's much more beneficial for them to sell more iPads than it is to sell MacBooks. And I've seen like some theory videos on the internet saying that Apple's ultimate plan is to like reduce your dependence on the computer, and then reduce
Mm-hmm.
the with the iPad, and reduce your dependence on the phone with the Apple Watch. So it's like part of a big master plan, which is actually that could be a reason why they didn't make the transition to AMD. You know, they
Yeah.
they could
Mm-hmm.
have done that.
Yeah. I totally agree with what you said. They definitely have a plan for the future. As MKBHD once said, they might have a plan for, hey, we maybe our phone is our smartwatch, for example. You know, they they're let's just say they're ambitious, and they've created such a big reputation that I think they can get away with anything they want. But right now, I find the iPad to be in such a weird position because obviously, if I don't like, in my opinion, I don't think the MacBooks will cost more with Apple Silicon. They're making it in their own house, so it shouldn't cost more. And when we have a MacBook Air that costs about 1,000 or 900, and then we have an iPad with their Magic keyboard and the pen costs about well like 1,300 or 1,200.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, hey, that's like, so we know that we want us to transition to the iPad, but no thank you. I'm gonna still stick to the MacBook, and this comes down to the OS. Let's be honest, because I mean, we all know that iPad Pro is so powerful. Like it could run LumaFusion, for example. It's an editing software, a professional one, and we've seen YouTubers transition to these iPads to edit on them. Big YouTubers with multi-million subscribers. So why so this just proves like a couple of things. It proves that their MacBooks aren't powerful enough to like they're purposely making them not powerful enough. I mean, some of them don't even have a GPU.
Hmm.
They they basically they're just proving the point that they want iPads to be the future of computing.
Hmm. And yeah, what you said about like how they're very limited when it comes to power, and like and also that's kind of supports what I said, because like they could have transitioned to AMD, which are power efficient, and but like there's faster and better CPUs, and
The new iMacs use them. The MacBook Pro and the iMacs use them, but still they don't have the best GPUs in them. Sorry. All right,
mhm.
continue.
No, like no, it's cool. Like but they could have made the transition to AMD, but they didn't, which says that it's much more than just getting better temperatures or better performance. It goes much deeper than that. It's about again, as we said, the master plan, the ecosystem, and kind of making people replace what they're used to using, replacing the laptop, replacing the iPhone, or eventually, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that will put them in an interesting position, because, as we know, like Android tablets have not come close to iPads, because yeah, actually that puts usually it was like Mac versus Windows, but now that they're making this transition, it seems like with the ARM-based MacBooks, they're kind of competing with the uh, with Android a little bit more, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially when iPads are priced at a such a premium price. You know, it's a tablet, but priced as a computer. This just shows like, hey, like this is Apple trying to tell us this is you're not buying a tablet anymore. You're buying your computer. You're buying the tool you're going to use to take your notes, to draw, to edit on it, to do all your tasks that you used to do on a laptop or a computer. That's why they priced at such high price. It's because they know that it's capable of doing it, but it's just that, in my opinion, it just doesn't have the OS. I mean, iPad OS is perfect at all, but like when you compare it to Mac OS, it's just not the same. They're not on the same level.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you look back, maybe 5 years back, if you compare between an Android tablet and an iPad, you see that iPads had better, um, you know, the hardware was better compared to the Android tablets. The Android tablets just like they were plastic, they felt cheap, and they had all the, uh, the Android problems from the olden days. Like uh, like after 2 years, the battery
Yeah,
would just be completely
yeah.
shot. And like now
Mm-hmm.
that now Samsung, for example, has the Tab S7. It's placed as kind of as a competitor for the iPad Pro, but uh,
It's
uh,
not a
it's not even that. Like the even if you have the hardware, which Samsung seem to have built pretty good hardware, they don't quite have the software. Android is just it's not quite there when it comes to tablets. And what Apple are doing, as I said, maybe a few years down the road, we're gonna start seeing MacBook applications trickling into iPads.
yeah.
Um, Apple will just have a monopoly. They'll be unstoppable. They always had the hardware, and now they're gonna also have the software um, by a large
Yeah.
margin.
I mean, think about it. I mean, we've seen multiple phones having Android phones having 16 gigabyte of RAM, and this is just proves how, let's just say, not more powerful. Let's just say more efficient and more optimized iOS is. I think my iPhone 10s Max, if I'm not wrong, has 4 or 6 gigabyte of RAM, which is ridiculous for the lifespan of the phone itself. Like it survives a long time. You know, all iPhones are known for that, and and it's like it's just how iOS is optimized, which makes their phones so good because they don't have to spend as much on RAM and these type of things. The money they saved on RAM maybe went to battery, a bigger battery, went to wireless charging, maybe went to a higher IP rating. It's just the way Apple runs their lineup. It's a unique way, and the only person that can explain how it's running and why they're doing what they're doing is them because maybe on paper, hey, I have 6 gigabyte RAM, and you have 16 gigabyte RAM, and you have 6 gigabyte. Which one is faster? Which one lives my 6 gigabyte one? This just shows this how superior iOS is to Android. So, do you have anything to add to what I just said?
Yes, as you said, like so they're gonna save money on the chip. Possibly they're gonna save money on other parts of the SoC, like the RAM. I don't, I don't know. I think it will be around 8 for the base model. I don't see them going 6 gigabytes for a MacBook. Um,
Yeah,
but 8 gigabytes with, Apple's famous optimization and
yeah,
all of that should be just perfect for what perhaps a student would use it for, especially if
yeah.
especially if they're able to utilize the price savings, the cost savings, and make that a cheaper price. Could be a very appealing product for students as well.
Yeah, especially like so I own a 2013 model and I just MacBook Air and I just bought it like last year. I didn't need a higher performance one per se because I just use it for a couple of normal stuff. If you ask me without even using the MacBook, hey, this 2013 model, do you think it will even run? I would have told you no. But holding it and upgrading it to macOS Catalina, the latest macOS out there, and I'll probably upgrade it to OS Big Sur. I still can use it normally, and it's fast. It's responsive. Yeah, maybe the screen is bad, but like using it, it's still such a powerful machine for the specs. If you get the same specs on Windows computer, you definitely won't have this much speed. You know.
hmm Absolutely. And actually, we used to say that uh, you mentioned as well that MacBooks weren't much for gaming, but thinking about it, they can easily port the thousands, if not millions, of games from the App Store to the MacBook, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so actually,
Yeah,
that could like improve their gaming or standing in the gaming community. Of course, it's still mobile gaming on a laptop, But hey, I mean, it's better than whatever they had.
Yeah, most of the App Store on Mac OS, it's basically the same as the iPhone and the iPad OS, but just with the less more games and more of the Mac OS stuff. So you would find games like Asphalt, for example, and Call of Duty. These games you can find them on the App Store on the Mac OS. You can't find Call of Duty, for example. I'm not talking about mobile. I'm talking about Black Ops One. You can find it on Mac OS, but you can't find it on the mobiles Mac or App Store, for example. They're using the same ecosystem, so maybe down the line they can just both connect way easier than this when they're using the new silicon.
Mhm.
Uh, so the expected release dates, it's in 2021. That's the expected, or 2020, but in the fourth quarter. It's either the first quarter of 2021 or the fourth quarter of 2020, which just shows how close the transition date is.
Mhm. Yeah, that's all good for the competition. That's all good for the computing business as well. And I'm looking forward to see what they're gonna give us in 2020, 2021, and even further down the line, where maybe we might see really powerful iMacs uh, running ARM chips. So that's really something to look forward to.
Yeah, this is a huge transition for Apple, obviously, but I feel like it's a transition for the better. It's like, hey, we have a better computer now, but for the same or less of a price. I mean, because like you don't buy a MacBook to do much with it. You can basically any computer can run a Microsoft Word or watch YouTube videos in 4K. That's what you mostly need for a MacBook, and they're gonna supply this way easily with
Hmm.
the ARM chips. And we have programs here. We have Universal 2, Rosetta 2, and virtualization. As I said before, these apps are going to be used to port the existing programs from Intel's chipset to ARM chipset, just so they can use them. And this is Apple wants to achieve. They want to make their users feel like it's the same product, this with no compromises, even though they're using a new chipset.
Hmm. So, I mean, um, that's been a great discussion, and obviously we haven't uploaded nowhere. This is our first recording quite a bit, so it's a really good topic, and I enjoyed that discussion.
Hmm. Yeah, I find it very interesting, and I hope to see what Apple does next. I'm a big Apple fan. Obviously, I respect what they're doing. Uh, Obviously, like this is just big, and it's like it's just for the better. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in on this podcast today. Hi, thank you guys so much for watching. Tell us your responses in the comments and tell us what you think about this transition. All right, peace.
Peace.